Yeah, man, Guru, SIS, we in the building. Again, man, just trying to pick up where I left off yesterday. And I'm really thinking about the what's the name. So, the timeline, because I know, like, people got that sort of, like, misconstrued when I came back to Maryland from Vegas, because they thought I was from out there. I was like, nah. So let me give y'all the whole lineage, like, timeline, like the Migos said. So, I was born Clinton, Maryland, right? And then we was there for like, I think, a couple years. And then we moved down to Texas. And then we moved back up to Clinton. Then we moved back down to Texas. Now this is 4 years later in 99, when my younger brother was born. And then we moved back up to Andrews. And then we lived up there until my 2nd grade year. And then that's when we moved down to Louisiana. And we was down there in Shreveport for like 2 years. And then we moved to Vegas for 4 years. So then I lived out there for 4 years, and then I moved back. When my father got stationed over in Japan, and that's why in my first song, when I talk about the ladder, because I had to call up Pops all the way from Japan. He was over there when I was in the 8th grade. But going from 6th grade to 7th grade, that's when he found out he was going over to Japan. He could either do 2 years by himself or 3 years with all of us. So he was like, with Richard going to Duke at the time, it would be better if like the whole family was, in Maryland around my mom's family and also my pops peoples in Baltimore, and then if Richard needs something, we 3 hours away instead of 13, with us all being in Japan. And plus it'd be quicker and I guess painless with those two years. So yeah, man. And then basically, shoot, I might as well get into that. I talk about it in the first song, in the rap and all that. About the little lesson, man. That's what you gonna call it. Not even no incident, but just a lesson, that I learned real early on, because it's things like that that sort of shape, who I am today. Just little stuff that you like peep as you growing up, and you real green, you real wet behind the ears when it comes to certain stuff like girls, basketball, even like your fellas, like the way you peep, like the kind of stuff they be on and stuff. So what happened was, started 8th grade year, right? Like brand spanking new year, and then this new girl come, and she like J. Cole said in Wet Dreams, brown skin and all that. And we in art class, that's BS class anyway. So I'm like, dang, like she look good. And me, I was just as clean as I was back in the 8th grade, you hear me? Nah, but yeah, so I'm like, dang, I'm asking like my friends and all that. I'm like, who is that? And they're like, yeah, that's such and such. I ain't gonna say a name or nothing. And I'm like, dang, true. So then I'm like, I gotta say something. I can't be feeling like this and not say something. And then at that time, I guess like it always was, is now, it's probably forever gonna be, with everybody for real, from young to old, when it comes to this quote unquote dating and all this other stuff. I was like, well, what we sort of calling it was like going out. I don't think we don't really use, them kind of terms no more. But so I was like, yeah, so I basically like want her to be my girlfriend or whatever. So then I was just thinking about a real smooth way to do it and all that. So again, we in art class. It's the last class of the day before we dip out and we go home. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna write my name on this piece of paper, and then put my number on it. I'm gonna be like, you trying to be with me, and then they go the number. So then sure enough, class come. I come up to her, and I was like, yeah, I just wanna know, what I'm saying, if you go out with me, and then echo my name, like she knew my name, but I just like gave her the number so she knew, that it was me or whatever. And then so I was like, yeah. So just think about it. it was a whole other stuff. Like think about it. What I'm saying? They called me and they let me know. So that was a Friday, and then Sunday night, I remember the Eagles was playing the Giants. Sunday night football. New York got the dub as normal. And then she sure enough called me and was like, yeah. And I was like, bet, let's get it. And then I was on some other stuff. I was like, alright, bet. Should I wear the South Pole or the American Eagle tomorrow? And then she was like, American Eagle. You know, like it is now, South Pole, that's supposed to be champ. I was back when my mother was still judging me, but shoot. Now I'm on some stuff. I rock South Pole today because I got it like that. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, man, so then, you know, and then at that time, like I said before, I was under the impression that you had two ways of going about life for real at that stage. And that was really, you either going to be good at a lot of things or you're going to be really great at one thing. And then I sort of took that on the head as, alright, I'm going to be an exceptional student and I'm going to be an exceptional basketball player. Yeah, it's tough. I wasn't, it was on, like I was on that path. I ain't really 100% 24/7 get down dirty and greasy on this basketball grind until the summer after this year. So like a year after this, but it was starting. And you know, so I was gearing up, you know, for this grind that I'm on to an even higher extent. You know what? Was 8th grade, that was like 2008. So 8 years later, you know, I'm still going, I'm going harder than ever on that same, you know, that was sort of a starting place, you know, for me, you know, as evident, you know, as we doing this, you know, and just more stuff growing and doing that whole thing. And I had to get off of that into doing something I was uncomfortable doing, which is doing the whole boyfriend-girlfriend thing in front of like my peers, and then they boasting my head up. But at the same time, I'm just like, yeah, this ain't what my folks like sent me to school for. You know, so something's amiss here. I couldn't really articulate it at the time, but I knew, you know, something was wrong. And you know, the more they was like pressuring me to do this and that, and I'm like, nah, I ain't really feeling that. You know, but I still had, like, I liked her though. You know, she looked good, she was cool in the whole nine, so I was really stuck for real. And I didn't really know